listening to MMA Think Tank with Jay and Mike.
Well, Mike, it hasn't quite been 2 weeks yet. It's only been a week since our last podcast, but we're here today on a special bonus podcast because we're going to be interviewing Heather Bassett. And this is fantastic. Heather's got a fight coming up. It's for the vacant junior flyweight title over at King of the Cage. Of course, this is all happening July 30th against Nico Montano.
Yeah, Nico's coming off a loss in King of the Cage, but she's 1-1, got some good skills. So, you put in there who you're going to put in there to get the fight going and get the strap back around somebody's waist.
Yeah. So while we wait for her, let's go ahead and talk about some fights that are coming up, Mike. Why don't you tell us about those? Yeah,
we kind of sadly skipped over on accident Bellator 157 Dynamite 2. If you guys remember, the first Dynamite show had both MMA and kickboxing.
Yeah.
This is the same type of thing. It's going to be in St. Louis, Missouri. And if you're in Missouri and Quentin Jackson is in your organization, guess what? Quentin Jackson is fighting. So Quentin Rampage Jackson's taking on Satoshi Ishii in the main event. If you guys aren't too familiar with Satoshi Ishii, judo Olympian, that's his way he comes to most of the time with his skills. Though he is fairly well-rounded now. He's got some good stand-up. But Quentin Jackson's fighting him. And before we talk about those fights, I'll just lay down the two other big fights. Michael Chandler fighting Patricky Pitbull for the vacant lightweight championship now that Will Brooks has jumped over to the UFC, which is awesome. And Matt Mitrione getting his first Bellator fight against Carl Suman-Tuafo. And I can't say that more than once.
I don't think you could say that at all, even once, to be honest.
Even if I sounded it out.
Yeah.
Jay, what do you think, while we're waiting, Quentin Jackson, Satoshi Ishii?
Man, I've been kind of waiting for Quentin just to retire completely, but I guess he's going to fight, and who knows? He'll probably win this one. I don't know Ishii too much.
Yeah, I think Quentin Jackson's going to knock him out, and he was about to retire because he was trying to continue to fight for the UFC. That whole court battle thing, he finally just said, you know what, I'm not going to fight this anymore. I got to fight. I got to make money. I'm getting close to the end of my career, so he went ahead and just re-upped with not re-upped with Bellator, but just got a contract renegotiation. And so I think he knocks out Satoshi Ishii in the second round probably. But I'll tell you what, Jay, if Satoshi Ishii can take it to the ground, Quentin's not great off his back. But we'll see. No. Michael Chandler, we'll kind of do this a little quick just in case she calls in.
Yeah.
Michael Chandler versus Patricky Pitbull Ferrer. I don't think Patricky should be in this fight. He's only like 1-1 in his last two. Michael Chandler for sure should be in this fight. Former champ. I'm picking Chandler here. I don't see how Patricky wins this fight except for by, not a one-punch knockout. I'm not saying the guy is not a great fighter. He's a very good fighter, but I think Chandler has this all day, especially with his well-rounded skills.
Yeah, me too. Chandler's going to win this one.
And then, the last one we have here is Matt Mitrione making his debut against Carl Suman-Tuafo. So Matt Mitrione is going to, get his first fight here in Bellator, but Matt Mitrione wasn't that great in the UFC. It was a solid heavyweight, but over here in Bellator, I think he's got a great shot of getting the belt, and we'll see what he does in his first fight on Friday.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that, Oh, we're getting a call, Mike. Jay and Mike here.
How you doing, Heather?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Doing great. So, Heather, I know you've got a big fight coming up, and before we get into that, I just would like to ask you, how did you get your start into combat sports?
I was actually a cross-country runner and skier growing up, so I was never really exposed to any martial arts at all until I was in college. One of my good friends from high school ended up fighting one time, and I kind of went to that fight, and from there I just started picking up jiu-jitsu, and from there it just turned into fighting.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. It looks like you've done some long-distance running in the past when I was reading up on you. Has that helped your career in the cage, or do you still do it, or does it not fit in now with your training and how you go about your fights?
I really don't run a lot anymore. I kind of got away from track and cross country because of always being injured, and I was really struggling with staying healthy. That's kind of when I picked up jiu-jitsu to start out with, was kind of an outlet because I was struggling in my sports and needed something else to focus on. I still run a little bit, for training and cardio, there's always a little bit of that. But for the most part, I've had to give up a lot of the longer distance stuff.
And let's face it, you wanted to beat up people too, right, Heather?
Oh, definitely.
Well, I saw a video earlier of you and your trainer, and he was talking about, this is before your first pro fight, about how you were already a great grappler and your striking had come around. And I saw your first fight against Bree Gilbert, where you threw a really nice punch kick combo that knocked her down.
Yes.
You promptly submitted her with a rear naked choke. How important, was that first fight? Getting off to such a great start, going from grappling, but then putting the chain together from striking to grappling, to submission, that type of thing.
Yeah, I think it was definitely an important fight, to show myself at least that I had that well-rounded skill set going into it. I think it really gave me that confidence in myself, but also in the confidence of the people training me. Because like I said, I had no background in it, so everything that I've learned so far has been, taught from the people who are still training me today. So I think that definitely gave me a boost of confidence.
Speaking of your training and stuff, when you train, is there any favorite part of training that you like, a certain type of martial arts style, or what do you like to train the most?
Well, I did start with grappling. I did start with jiu-jitsu, and I mean, that's something that I really love. I have really come to love the stand-up too, so I think at this point it's hard to choose between the two, but I think I'd still say I really do enjoy the jiu-jitsu more than anything.
Okay, well, let me ask you a question then. Where does the handguns nickname come from? It's one of the best nicknames I've heard in a while. Was it given to you because of your skills in the cage, or are we going to see you down at the shooting range? Where's that come from?
We can call them skills, I guess. It was more of a joke in my early fights. I would just throw punches like crazy, like as fast as I could, as many as I could get in there. And so the name handguns kind of was given to me at that point. And at the time I was training with a fighter named Christina Domke, who her name was Machine Gun. So I kind of got thrown in as, her protege became Handgun. So it's kind of a fun story.
I like it. Although you talked about taking some time off or in between fights. I did notice that between Brenda Gonzalez and your fight with Brenda Gonzalez and Taylor Turner, there was about a little over a year you were off. How did you deal with that? How hard was it not having a fight?
Yeah, it was hard. I'm not gonna lie, it was really hard, especially coming off the loss to Brenda. I actually broke my foot, which is the reason that I was out, and for a while, I tried, still hitting the bag and doing upper body stuff, and my foot was not healing. I went in for x-rays, and there was absolutely no change. So eventually, they're just like, stop. Stop doing everything. You are out, rest, recover. And so that's what I was forced to do. And it was really hard. I mean, you're so used to going to the gym every day and, seeing your training partners and your coaches, and it becomes such a big part of your life that having to take that much time off is really, really mentally wearing.
Oh, yeah, I bet, because I hurt my leg one time, my foot, and I was out of work for about 2 weeks, and I don't do anything nearly as amazing as you guys do, but just for me sitting on the couch, for the first day or two seemed awesome. After that, you want to get out, you want to go work, you want to go do what you need to do, and you can't do it. So I fully understand that. So I guess another question we have too is you fought Rose Namajunas in your first amateur fight. You can talk about that if you'd like, but really a question I have for you is, what is it like between amateur fights and pro fights? Because guys like myself, I've seen a few pro fights on on video. I've never been to one, but I know there's differences. And for you, how did it get you ready for your first pro fight debut?
I was really lucky to have some really tough amateur fights. I could tell, even when I fought Rose that early in my career, I could tell that she had been training a lot longer. Everything that I did in the cage, she would have an answer for, and I think that was really eye-opening to me to see how much work that I had left to do. Between that, and I fought Eva Johnson down in Kentucky, and at that time, she had six or so amateur fights, and I was only on my, second or third. And I think just those different experiences really pushed me to become better and really did prepare me for my pro career. Because, if you're fighting people that aren't going to push you, you're not going to be ready to take it to that next level.
Yeah, and now you're going to be fighting for a vacant title belt, for the junior flyweight title belt. Now, a question that Mike and I both had was, what is the difference between the junior flyweight and a flyweight division? I'm not too familiar with that.
It is, I think strictly a King of the Cage thing.
Yeah.
Their
Yeah,
flyweight
that's
is
not
technically one.
Oh, I think we lost you.
I don't. Yeah.
Yeah, I think. Hello, are you still there?
Yep, I'm here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we lost you for a second there.
So yeah, we saw that
I
it was
think
125. At least the weight class was 125, which traditionally is flyweight. So we were just curious what the whole junior thing meant. And we assumed it was King of the Cage, but we weren't sure. I would like to talk about King of the Cage real quick. I mean, your overall record is 4-2. But you're undefeated at King of the Cage, which I'm sure is why you're getting the title shot. But I've got a lot of these DVDs at my house where I've got all these different stars from King of the Cage: Uriah Faber, Diego Sanchez, Dwayne Bag Ludwig, Quentin Jackson, all these guys and ladies as well, of course, that have come through King of the Cage. You're undefeated there. Do you think your name will join that list in the future? I know it's only 6 fights, but what do you think?
I really hope so. I think at this point I'm just being patient, taking it one fight at a time and really trying to build that record up and show that I can be up there with those names.
Well, I'll tell you this, you've never been knocked out and, you've never gone to a decision. So that tells you right there, you've got that heart, you've got that skill. So I certainly could see you possibly in the next few years getting there. So, I'll be looking at your career for sure and see what's going on.
Yeah, thank you. I hope so. I mean, I think that I have kind of a track record of putting on a good show, so hopefully that'll pay off for me.
After King of the Cage, once you get that title, are you looking to defend it a couple of more times, or are you thinking of maybe trying to move on to Invicta or even Bellator? The UFC is kind of a tougher jump possibly from there. I'm not sure, but where would you rather fight first? It would be Bellator or Invicta, or do you just want to hold out for the UFC?
I would take a shot with Invicta or Bellator any day. I think both of those organizations, it would just be awesome to get an opportunity to fight for them. Like you said, King of the Cage has been great. I've put in a lot of fights for them. That was where I had my first amateur career. But I definitely think that they've given me the experience to move up to those bigger shows.
Yeah, that's awesome. Some experience you've had that is something that a lot of fighters haven't, and I'll say female fighters for sure, which is fighting Fallon Fox. You did lose to her, but, seeing that Fox is transgender, what were your feelings going into the bout? I realized this was a couple of years ago, but I think it's something that's kind of interesting for the audience. Some say it was unfair because Fox she still has like a frame and musculature of a man. Some fighters say, look, they don't care. A fight is a fight. But either way, a lot has been made about Fallon Fox and all the craziness surrounding that situation. How did you deal with that situation, and did it affect you there when you were fighting?
At the time, I was really on the side of, I don't care, put me in there, I will fight either way. But looking back on it, it was pretty stressful because everybody always had a question or a comment or was trying to get me to say something derogatory or controversial going into the fight. And I think it took a lot of my own willpower to really stay focused on just the fight. And, I mean, Saladin and I have exchanged words, and we're very cool with each other, and we both have a very high level of mutual respect. And it really was just a fight, and that's what it came down to. But, yeah, it was definitely a good experience dealing with, all of that outside stuff and yet having to focus on the fight. So I definitely took a lot out of the experience.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm glad to hear that because there's so many times you see in mixed martial arts, some guys or ladies will have, they'll have that trash talk back and forth, almost up to a hatred, and they finally lay it out in the ring, and the beef is squashed. So I find that awesome. I also saw an article where you kind of got into it with Beck Rawlings about what a feminist is. Many fighters say they have God with them when they fight, or they they fight a certain way because of their heritage. Is there anything about being a feminist that comes into the cage with you? I mean, do you feel that you have something to prove in a more male-dominated sport, or is it just a philosophy and social belief you hold to, or is it both?
I don't really think that it has a lot to do with my fighting. I think I'm just a stubborn and ambitious person. I identify as a feminist in a lot of my personal views, but most of the time I try to keep those views separate from my fighting.
Well, I'd say, that's certainly how, a lot of us view the fight game. We may, like a certain fighter because of this, that, or the other. But when it comes down to, a lot of us like the fighter because of how they fight or their discipline or something like that. So I certainly hear where you're coming from. Another thing I saw, too, was, you cut your hair for the St. Baldrick's Foundation, a nonprofit organization that's created to help fund research for cancer, children's cancer. My wife has cut her hair more than a few times for Locks for Love. How did you find out about St. Baldrick's, and what was the whole experience like? Because a lot of, the audience, I'm sure, doesn't know about this whole type of thing, especially a fighter doing it.
Yeah, there was a local chapter of the St. Baldrick's organization in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, where I'm from, and this was last summer when I still wasn't really able to train or anything, and I really wanted something to kind of put my focus on, so I decided to take part in it, and it was just really awesome. I mean, people were so willing to help me out and donate and help me reach my fundraising goal. And
That's awesome.
let me tell you, training without hair is a whole new experience. I love it.
That's what Rose Namajunas said as well. So,
one other question too, back to your title fight. I did notice that Nico is coming in off of a loss. She's 1-1. Does that help you, like, in your mentality coming into the cage, that she just lost her last fight? Or do you think she's going to bring in even more because she's got to prove that if she wins this fight, that she is truly a champion?
I think knowing the motivation that you get from coming off of a loss, I'll say that I'll have to be ready for. I've been there, and it does give you a little extra drive to put in everything you got in that next fight. So I know that her last fight was at 35, which I've also been there too, where I fought at 135 for a couple fights, and it just was not the right weight class for me. So it'll definitely be good for both of us to match up at 125.
So 135 was not good for you because of just too much weight, or was it the competition? What was the difference there?
Yeah, I was too small for 135. I mean, there were a couple times where I was walking way too close to fight weight, and I mean, like when I fought Fallon Fox, I weighed in underweight and really didn't cut a whole lot. So I think 125 has always just been a better natural spot for me.
But if you were to get a call from Bellator or Invicta to fight at 135, I assume you'd take that without a second's notice, right?
Oh yeah. I can bulk up. That's not a problem.
Oh yeah. Oh, believe me, I'm a fat guy sitting on the couch. I know how to bulk up. It's just you might want to bulk up the right way.
Yeah, it's a different bulking up there. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Do you have any favorite moment in the cage that you've had so far?
I would say that my pro debut, the head kick that took out Bria Gilbert, is probably still one of my favorite moments in my fight career so far. That
is a cool moment.
I saved that, by the way, Heather. When I saw that, I did the traditional whoa when I saw that. I just thought it was fantastic. So,
and also I wanted to put out there too that people can follow you on Twitter at Heather Bassett. Is there any other place they can find you online? Twitter's the best. Also Facebook under Heather Bassett. I hope that everybody follows me, and I'm going to try to be good about keeping posted on my fight camp and everything. So. Oh, that's awesome, Heather. Anyway, we'd like to thank you for being here, Heather, and giving us the time. And Mike, do you have anything else to ask? Or
yeah, just Heather, thanks again for coming on and talking about not just you, but the whole fight game in general. And you've certainly made fans of myself, and I'm sure there's other people who've already seen you fight as well. I mean, you're on MAV TV with our King of the Cages, but sadly some of us don't get that. But we're going to be digging into your career, and other people will be hearing this and digging into it and watching the title fight. So
awesome! I really appreciate you guys having me on. It's been fun.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We go.